Sa mga kababayan, sasagutin ang mga katanungan tungkol sa mga isyong may kinalaman sa mga overseas Filipinos. Magbibigay ng mga impormasyon at kaalaman para sa mga mamamayan. Ito ang Usapang Qabayan. Usapang Qabayan. Sabayang mapapakinggan sa radyo at mapapanood live online. Dito lang sa Qabayan Radio 94.3 FM.
A wonderful evening, mga kabayan. You are tuned in to the first and the only Filipino radio station here in Qatar, Qabayan Radio 94.3. This is Usapang Qabayan. Kasama niyo po ako si Kenzo.
And of course, mga kabayan, this is RJ Andy. And of course, ngayon, partner, we will have another episode of Usapang Qabayan. And this is about building a strong financial foundation. And it's the vital role of life insurance for OFWs. And tonight, we are featuring the General Manager and Senior Executive Officer of Zurich Insurance Company. We have Mr. Greg Loayon.
Thank you.
Good
RJ
evening, Sir
Andy.
Greg.
Good evening.
Magandang gabi po.
Magandang gabi.
Nice to see you again
It's
here.
Nice to be back here. Thank you for having me again.
Yes, and syempre, apart from airing on the airwaves at 94.3 FM, we are also live now on Facebook. So if you would want to see our faces,
Yes.
kung gusto niyo mo kami mapanood, all you have to do is go to our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/kabayan943.
That's correct, partner. And of course, let me just invite everyone to again please follow us on our 4 social media accounts. We have Facebook page, Instagram, we also have our TikTok account, and the newest Thread.
Yeah.
Do you have your Thread na, sir?
Parang pinag-uusapan pa yung
Okay.
parang nagkakaroon ng sort of push and pull yung competition.
Yeah. So that's at Qabayan943.
Well, anyway, we had Sir Greg here in the studio a few months ago.
Yeah.
And we talked about something related to education. Pero ngayon, bukod sa pag-pursue ng further studies, we are also going to talk about, or educating people then, about the importance of insurance. And this is something that is also close to your heart, right?
Yes, of course. Well, I've been in the insurance industry for over 30 years. Ayan din po yung edad ko. I've been in the
Okay,
30 years old.
Magkakaedad pala tayo.
Oo. So I've been in the insurance industry for over 30 years, both in the Philippines and in the Middle East.
Right.
And this is quite important sa ating mga kababayan, lalo na we lahat tayo na nandito sa abroad, we took a calculated risk,
Right.
to leave the country, to make life better for our families. For some of us who are fortunate to have our families with us here, we are affording them the kind of lifestyle that we want to give them.
Right.
And at the same time, we also provide support for families back in the Philippines, right? So especially for those who are the main breadwinners, marami sa ating mga kababayan are the main breadwinners of their families back home, and are here by themselves. And so we all took that risk to leave the country for a better future for our families. So I think that it's very important also to look at how do we protect our kumbaga tayo yung money-making machine ng ating mga pamilya, tapos hindi protect yung money-making machine. I think that's very important.
Yeah, and it's something about building strong financial foundations. Pero how would you define yung itong strong foundation, especially for OFWs, particularly para sa ating mga OFWs? How do you define that?
I think when you're looking at the OFW as the kumbaga as a financial asset, if you may, yung pinaka foundation talaga natin dyan kasi is yung ating for our well-being, when we're okay, from our health perspective, and also yung risk to ourselves, from a life perspective. Yan yung pinaka-importante na kailangan natin i-protect, because again, we have, if somebody depends on you, you definitely need to have that financial foundation to make sure that that financial aspect of your life is well protected, because if something happens to you, yung mga dependents mo.
It's a domino effect.
It is absolutely
Right.
a domino effect. So kailangan you start the foundation right. Right?
And we do hear a lot of stories na halimbawa yung OFW na wala ng trabaho or
Correct.
nagkasakit,
Yeah.
the entire family
Yeah.
actually suffers.
Correct.
They're affected.
Correct. And in the same way na pagka meron ding risks that happen to the families,
Oh, yeah.
ang doon din pupunta yan
Yeah.
sa
You're also gonna be
OFW,
affected.
right? So magkakaroon din ng impact sa'yo. Because again, fortunately or unfortunately, when you're the one abroad, you become also at times the source of support for families back home, right? So so it's important for you to be able to really do that, not only for yourself,
Right.
but also for families back home.
But
So
usually, what are the steps that an OFW can do to ensure that he or she and the entire family has a strong financial foundation?
Yeah, well, I think when I look at it from a foundation perspective, if you look at a pyramid, right? So I look at it in parang four tiers in terms of ano yung foundation talaga niya. Pinakauna dyan would be protection. Pangalawa dyan would be retirement. And then pangatlo is savings and investment.
Right.
And then the topmost would be if you're able to leave a legacy for your family.
Right.
Right? So from a protection perspective, because you're the main unit, if something happens to you, the whole deck of cards will fall apart. Right? So kaya yun ang pinaka-importante na base, yung you are protected against, for example, the risk of loss of life or kung magkasakit ka, because a lot of our kababayans, they're really good at saving money. You know, so may iba na naglalagay talaga ng pera sa bangko.
Right.
But if you get sick or magkaroon ka talaga ng, let's say, mas matinding karamdaman or critical illness, yung savings natin mabilis na ubos yan.
Mauubos
Right.
talaga.
Right? Mabilis
Yeah.
mauubos yan. Or if that happens to members of our family, mabilis mauubos yan. So, protection is absolutely very critical.
Similar to investments,
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of stories of people investing into many things.
Uh-huh.
Pero since may nangyaring hindi maganda sa family,
Correct.
at yung unfortunate circumstances, nawala din lahat yung
also gonna
invest nila kasi binenta,
Yeah.
no?
Yep.
Kasi they don't have the protection. And that's
Correct.
what we're going to talk about
Exactly.
ngayong gabing
Yeah.
doon tayo magfo-focus
Yeah.
na about protection.
Correct.
So how do we really protect ourselves? How do we protect our families para
Yeah.
maging solid ang financial foundation
Yeah.
natin?
Initially, I would say from the start, merong mga whether or not we do that here abroad or we do that in the Philippines, there are insurance products that provide that level of protection, right? So, if I may classify that, meron tayong tinatawag in the insurance world na whole of life insurance, which normally provides you insurance protection until age 95 or age 100, depende sa mga insurance contracts that are written. There are also insurance contracts that are quite affordable, right? And but only provide you protection for a short number of years.
Right.
Right? So for example, if you want to secure protection for the time that you are abroad, or if you want to secure protection during the dependency years of your family, kung yung mga bata, yung mga anak mo hindi pa sila, for example, independent. If you want to look at a shorter period of insurance cover, then there are types of insurances also na
There are
na mas
offers
maiksi,
available then,
right?
right.
And there are also insurance programs that combine both protection as well as the ability to save or the ability to invest, right?
Right.
Because again, when you're looking at the second pillar, which is retirement, sometimes tayong mga overseas workers, we don't realize that we will become old.
Yeah.
Parang feeling natin, nasa abroad tayo, lagi tayo
Forever young.
nagtatrabaho, forever young, no? Tapos,
That's right.
when you become 60, 65, and the country where you are in doesn't need you anymore,
That's when it hits you, no?
that,
And it hits
uuwi ka
hard.
pala, right? Now, I was just talking to RJ Andy offline kanina na malaking porsyento ng ating mga overseas workers are in Asia. Right?
And I was shocked.
Yeah, malaking porsyento talaga. And
Right.
sa laking porsyento na yan, you're looking at these countries do not offer a visa to you. So, uuwi ka talaga sa Pilipinas, right? Because reality will hit, as you say, when you reach 60, 65. And because you can't really change passports when you're in these parts of the world, uuwi ka. and yet you're not really prepared to go. So there are insurance programs that allow you to do that. Right. So that's one of the, I would say, part of the strong financial foundation we're talking about. Another one that I'd like to also point out is we invest in our children, particularly on education, right? So the way to do that is also set up a savings program that can be satisfied by life insurance also, right? Now, if one thing that I'd like to point out pagdating sa retirement, I always look at two things when you're looking at investing or retiring, and that is the ability to finance what is predictable and what is liquid. So kailangan mo ng liquidity and predictability when you retire. Kasi syempre when you retire, minsan meron tayong mga end of service benefits na nakukuha sa ating mga kumpanya. But how long will that last? Right? What will sustain your day-to-day? So yun yung dapat may predictability. Yung makukuha mo na lump sum or any savings that you probably would have set up, that's your liquidity part. Pero yung predictability, you also have to have a way to set up something of a recurring income. For example, yung iba, nagsiset up na sila ng mga properties ngayon or nagsiset up ng mga businesses that somehow gives them a recurring income when they retire. Para hindi sila mag-depend on the lump sum that they probably would have gotten or if the children would be able to support them in the retirement years. Right? So, yun din yung isang.
Which is also uncertain sometimes.
Which is uncertain as well, right?
Makapag-support ba?
Or at times, the children may predecease the parent. We don't really know that either. No? So, that's why tayong mga nandito, we don't really know whether we will go before our parents do. So, who's going to support them? Kaya kung hindi din tayo protected at wala tayong maiwan na for them, yan yung the legacy part, may kulang sa ating financial plan. And when you're looking at legacy, for example, I don't know if you run a survey sa mga listeners natin sa Kabayan Radio, I don't know how many of you guys will have properties that have not been transferred to your names yet from your mga ninuno because you haven't paid taxes. Yung mga inheritance tax na. Because madami sa mga
malaki din kasi daw yung inheritance tax.
Yung mga magmamana, wala silang pera pambayad ng tax.
Exactly.
So what other people will do is sell the property in order to pay tax. Di ba? Dapat pinamana mo na yun. Binenta pa yung property. Now the way to do that is you can use life insurance to pay for taxes. Right? So you can use that for inheritance tax planning. Maganda nga ngayon bumaba na yung inheritance tax natin sa Pilipinas. Dati-dati talagang mahal yun. Which is the factor talaga ngayon na alam ko marami akong kakilala, I don't know about you guys, pero marami akong kakilala na yung mga properties nila are still in the names of their grandparents or something. Parang siya hindi talaga.
I'm not sure if my sister is listening, but this is for us.
Medyo na-share mo ng konti yan sa akin, ano?
Kasi, di ba, ang daming tax na nababayaran, but you have to know na, ang baba na ng taxes ngayon, nagkaroon pa ng amnesty yan. So, I think for you guys who haven't really looked at your tax liability, you might want to start looking at that kasi bumaba na po yung tax natin.
At saka, i-avail kung mayroong tax amnesty.
Kung may mga amnesty, oo. Oops.
Parang naiiba yata ang topic. Tsaka parang iibahin natin yata ang topic for you tonight. Gusto mo bang doon na tayo But anyway, it's actually a good thing that you have already mentioned yung about yung sa mga taxes, about investments, and even education. But at the same time, you've also informed us of some of the types of insurances natin kanina. But I would just like to go back to the very basic question siguro that a lot of people would want to know, ano ba talaga ang nagagawa ng insurance para sa atin ng mga OFW?
Right. So if I look at the yung how it fits into a financial plan, unang-una yung the possibility for income replacement. Right? So in case of, let's say in case of death, the income that the family would have been receiving from the OFW can be replaced by the life insurance proceeds that they will receive, no? Kasi sa atin, because we've gone abroad, we've afforded a certain lifestyle to our children, we've sent them to the best schools we can afford. If something happens to us, paano masusustain yun? Right? So life insurance is able to do that. In the same way na kung meron tayong mga coverage for critical illness, let's say somebody gets diagnosed of cancer or somebody has a stroke and survives, pag wala kang savings, ubos yung income mo.
For
Right? So
sure.
that's where insurance can come in. May mga critical illness covers that are offered by insurance companies that gives you money to pay for not only for the treatment, right? But also for your day-to-day. Kasi, come to think of it, marami sa atin may mga health card naman tayo no? So, if we get sick, that could be covered. But you'd be surprised na a lot of the expenses when you get critically ill is not about the hospitalization. It's about how do you sustain
The
that.
everyday
Right?
needs.
And if you lose your income, paano naman yung other expenses for the entire family?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So that needs to be protected. The second thing I would say is yung debt repayment. Right? Kasi fortunately or unfortunately, marami din sa ating mga kababayan would have been offered mga loans, right? Sa mga bangko dito, or para makaalis ng bansa, they would have taken out or borrowed money. So, in case of death or disability, meron silang magagamit to pay off any of those debts, no?
But that, may question ako dyan. Kasi like for example, if you're going to take up housing loan,
Correct.
or even personal loan,
Correct.
may mga insurance
May
na mga binabayaran
Correct.
doon, diba? So, may mga iba na nag-iisip na I don't need the life insurance, lalo na wala naman akong dependent pa ngayon.
Correct.
So, what do you advise people? I mean,
for these types of people na halimbawa wala silang dependents, at the very least what you need really is insurance for critical illness, right? Because you still have to survive,
right?
no, when you get critically ill. And if you've set up money for yourself because you're a responsible individual, even as a single individual, and wala kang dependents, let's say, but at the end of the day, when you get sick, that money is going to go.
Okay.
Right? And you have to know na in certain countries, it's legal to let you go if you've not been at work for like 60 days. Pwede ka nang tanggalin.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And that's
That's
legal.
right, that's
Yeah.
right.
So,
Yeah.
asan ka nakukuha ng
Panggastos.
panggastos, right?
no?
So, it's important to really be prepared for those.
Right. And sometimes you don't even know kung halimbawa wala kang dependent ngayon, malam mo bukas meron pala, di ba?
Di ba?
Biglaan.
Magkaroon.
Oo, bigla, di ba?
Kaya
Magkaroon
huwag kang
ng...
gumala in unusual places.
Like for example, at 20, let's say you're in your mid-20s.
And you're just
hindi mo siya
enjoying
naiisip, di ba?
life, right?
Wala naman ako
Yeah.
dependent. But, after a decade or so, baka may anak ka na.
Baka bigla kang
Doon ka
ma-in
pa
love.
lang ba magsisimula, di ba? Parang doon ka pa lang ba mag-start?
Oh, yeah. So,
So,
sinasabi talaga
yeah.
nila, you have to start young.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right?
well, that is actually quite true. No, na, and this is for a lot of people that they say, I don't really need life insurance. I'm still young. But the younger you start, the better it is for you. The premiums will cost
Right.
you a lot less,
Correct.
and you're still a lot healthier.
Right.
But some people they will think about life insurance when they're no longer insurable. Parang pagka nagkaroon na ako ng sakit,
Pag
lapit na ako ng
nagkaroon
insurance. Oo.
Malapit na
O malapit na
mag-retire.
mag-retire.
Yeah,
You start
yeah.
thinking about, ay, kukuha na ako ng pang-retirement ko or something like that. And it will cost you more na.
Right.
No?
Pero, since nabanggit po natin yung age, how young is young? Kasi meron din namang iba, anak pa lang nila, kinukuha na nila ng life insurance. I don't know whether that is something that is also a good move,
Yeah.
or should you wait a particular age bago ka kumuha talaga ng insurance?
Depende sa mga insurance companies. There are insurance companies, lalo, I know in the Philippines that we have those, na you can insure the life of really young kids. Pero kung titignan mo kasi, is there economic loss in case of the death of a child,
Right.
whereas your family will suffer economic loss kung sa iyo yon. And I would say na if you're looking at children, what you can do is you have life insurance, but particularly to save for something, right?
Okay.
So using life insurance as a vehicle to save for education, let's say, or to build up capital for them na parang gift mo later when they graduate or something like that for them to start a business. Parang ganon. You can use life insurance for that.
Yeah. But not as a necessity.
Not as a necessity.
Okay.
Oo, kasi for me, the important part really is to secure ourselves. Lalo na kung
Right.
if someone depends on you, you definitely
Right.
are the one that needs life insurance.
Especially if you're the
parang-
one who's working.
Yeah, exactly.
And minsan nga parang mas mahal pa yata pag mas mabata pa, no? Kasi parang, I don't know someone told me about this. You can confirm whether it's true or not. Kasi mas mataas daw ang mortality rate ng mga kids kesa sa mga nasa...
Especially from a certain age.
Yeah.
Right?
Compared when you're like in your 20s. Kasi kumbaga, medyo mas na-develop ka na ng husto as an adult.
Actually, ginagawa ko din sa aking mga anak, no? When they turned 18, kinuhanan ko na sila ng insurance.
So that's the right age.
Kasi for me, like, sabi ko nga sa anak ko, let me start your insurance program while you're still young kasi magkano pa lang siya, right? So I can afford a large amount of cover on his or her life at a very affordable cost. And a lot of my friends, ganun din sinabi ko sa kanila na, look, yung anak nyo nag-aaral or nagsisibula na sa kanilang mga careers, we can start them with the life insurance program, and then when they can afford it, or sabi ko nga sa anak ko, when you start working, then ikaw na magbabayad ng insurance mo. Kasi sinimulan ko. Pero ngayon nag-work na siya, ako pa rin nagbabayad. Nakalimutan na yata yung agreement.
Parang gusto ko magpaampun.
Baka may slide.
So a good age is 18 or when they start working. Yun talaga ang
So I have to
idea.
start 13 years from now for Baste. Wow!
Simulan muna. Actually, if you look at the age range ng ating mga overseas workers, and also this is quite relevant, when I was looking at the data ng ating Philippine Statistics Authority ng mga age range ng mga overseas workers, the most number is between the age of 30, mga kaedad natin, between the age of 30 to 45, and then 45 to about 50. So, ito yung pinakamalaking bulk ng overseas workers. So, ito yung prime ages ng mga nagtatrabaho. Na halos lahat ng mga ito, may mga dependents talaga. So, this is really why there is a necessity for yung mga kababayan talaga natin to consider protecting themselves from risk.
Right. So yung mga nasa ganito pong age, yung mga nasa 40s to 50s na, tapos wala pa silang insurance, pinag-uusapan natin kanina, it's much better to do it younger. Is it already too late for them to start?
Hindi naman po. Right? So it's never too late. The earlier you start, the better. But then it's also never too late. Some people will think na when you are of a certain age, meron ka na mga pre-existing conditions, right? And they will think to themselves na I'm uninsurable already kasi meron na akong mga pre-existing conditions. You should not really hesitate to approach an insurance company when you have a pre-existing condition. I may put a caveat on that kasi in certain countries or certain companies, lalo na kung overseas worker ka, medyo high risk ang tingin sa atin at hindi na tayo na-i-insure pag meron tayong mga pre-existing conditions. But I know for a fact dito sa Middle East na may mga kumpanya, lalo na mga international companies that do accept na kahit may mga pre-existing conditions ka, even for us no sa kumpanya namin, marami kami mga kliyente who are, let's say, diabetic or mga may hypertension or meron nga akong isang kakilala, a friend of mine personally na nagkaroon ng triple heart bypass, na nagkaroon pa rin sila ng insurance offer. So do not hesitate to approach a financial advisor and ask, meron akong condition ngayon, am I still insurable? So it is in fact quite important for you to start considering one. Pero the younger you are, the more healthy you are. No, so that's why mas maganda talaga mag-start ng mas maaga.
So mas maliit pa yung babayaran.
Mas maliit pa yung babayaran mo. Dito nga sa atin, alam mo dito sa Qatar for example.
Right.
I'm quite happy to say na mas marami actually sa ating majority sa aming mga Pilipino. My clients natin are Filipinos. So I'm happy for that.
Wow.
At least, no,
really
the
good.
realization is right there now already. I mean, it's starting.
Yeah.
All right. It's actually a very good discussion. And later, alamin natin ano nga ba yung mga types of insurances that are available out there. And of course, makakasama natin again si Mr. Greg Loayon. We'll just go on a very short break and you're still tuned in to Qabayan Radio 94.3 for Usapang Qabayan.
Usapang Qabayan! Usapang Qabayan! Usapang Qabayan! For your advertising needs, please contact Qabayan Radio Sales and Marketing Team at 44994943 or email at info@qabayanfm.com. Qabayan Radio 94.3 FM, bringing your business to the Filipino and international communities.
Qabayan Radio 94.3. Loud and
For your advertising needs, please contact Qabayan Radio Sales and Marketing Team at 44994943 or email at info@qabayanfm.com. Qabayan Radio 94.3 FM, bringing your business to the Filipino and international communities.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
Your evening is going well. It's 8 o'clock.
Qabayan Radio 94.3 FM. 94.3 FM. The first and the only Filipino radio station in Qatar. Celebrates its fourth year of operation.
keep it going.
4 years of providing entertainment, news, and public services to the Filipino and international communities. 4 years of productive partnership with the private and public entities in bringing reliable information, promoting cultural diversities, music, and other forms of creative entertainment in Qatar. Qabayan Radio 94.3 FM, the first and the only Filipino radio station in Qatar.
You're listening to the first and only Filipino radio station in Qatar. 94.3 Qabayan Radio. Qabayan Radio 94.3. Loud and proud.
Mga kababayan.
Qabayan Radio 94.3.
The first and the only Filipino radio station in Qatar. Qabayan Radio 94.3.
Order nga po ng Pizza Hut My Box please. Pepperoni with a drink, wedges, and chicken wings. Pepperoni with pasta and wedges. Samahan nyo na rin ang pasta at saka melts with 2 sides.
Want to sawa ang order sa Pizza Hut My Box Range. Introducing the new Pizza Hut My Box Range. My Box Lunch, 15 Qatari Riyals. My Box, 30 Qatari Riyals. My Box Melt, 35 Qatari Riyals. My Box Pro, 40 Qatari Riyals. Your terms, your conditions. Pizza Hut. Now, that's more. Call now, 44320320 or download Pizza Hut mobile app and enjoy our hot deals. Matutunaw ka sa sarap ng Pizza Hut Melts. New, fresh, handheld, folded cheesy, loaded with your favorite pizza toppings. Perfect for lunch on the go. And mura lang 19 Qatari Riyals lang. Sulit, di ba? Ang laki niya? It's just for you. Di siya pizza eh, kaya solo mo siya. Wow. Pizza Hut Melts. Cheesy ang sarap. Order na sa 44320320 or download Pizza Hut mobile app and enjoy our hot deals.
Are you ready? Sound check.
Broadcasting and digital. Broadcasting from the heart of Doha, Qatar.
In digital. You're listening to the first and only
Filipino radio station in Qatar.
playing all the hits all the time.
The best mix of the music you want to hear.
Qabayan Radio 94.3.
94.3. 94.3. Kabayan Radio. Kabayan Radio. The first and the only Filipino radio station in Qatar.
And all-time favorites.
The music.
Mga kababayan.
The entertainment.
I feel good.
A Filipino touch. Pinoy proud. Kabayan Radio. Kabayan Radio. 94.3. A variety of both original Filipino music, or OPM, and international music. Latest news, hot topics, and many more. 94.3 Kabayan Radio. The first and the only Filipino radio station in Qatar.
Usapang Qabayan! Usapang Qabayan! Bibigyang linaw ang mga usaping nagbibigay ng interes sa mga kababayan. Sasagutin ang mga katanungan tungkol sa mga isyong may kinalaman sa mga overseas Filipinos. Magbibigay ng mga impormasyon at kaalaman para sa mga mamamayan. Ito ang Usapang Qabayan! Usapang Qabayan! Sabayang mapapakinggan sa radyo at mapapanood live online. Dito lang sa Qabayan Radio 94.3 FM.
You are still tuned in to Qabayan Radio 94.3 and this is Usapang Qabayan. Kasama po ako si Kenzo.
And of course, RJ Andy, mga kabayan. And we have our guest for tonight, again, Mr. Greg Loayon. And kanina lang napag-usapan natin yung understanding the financial foundation and of course, role of life insurance. And partner,
Yes. Ano nga ba? Anong mga iba-ibang klase pa ng mga insurances na pwede nating ma-avail? Pero, bago tayo tumalon doon, tanungin ko muna si Sir Greg, ano po ba yung mga misconceptions usually that people have, lalo na may mga yung mga OFW, in terms of life insurance?
I think number one that people really think about when you talk about life insurance is it's too expensive. Diba? Parang, syempre, you're on a budget, ganito.
Right.
Tapos sabihin mo na it's too expensive. Una-una, if you're younger, then it really works for you. But you'd be surprised, na there are insurance products that you can get here in Qatar na it's the cost of yung weekend mo sa Jollibee. Example, biglang nag-advertise. Kasi, yung term insurance, for example, that costs yung cover niya nasa mga $100,000 which is about what, 5 million in Philippine peso, nasa mga 100 something reals lang yan, right? And yet easily ini-spend natin yan sa weekend sa mall or something like that, and we don't think about using that for life insurance. For some people, they say it's an expense, pero this is the only expense that gives something back, right? Compared sa expense na iba nating ginagamit. So, it's too expensive relative to what? So that's why it's important when you sit down with a financial advisor, titignan mo yung financial circumstances mo ngayon, such that makikita mo, where am I really spending my money? And saan dito ang pwede kong i-rebalance? Yung every weekend ako nanonood ng sine or every weekend akong
nag-online shop.
Nag-add to cart. Diba? Pwede naman sigurong i-realign mo yung budget mo such that the more important conversation around having protection is secured.
Right. Yung iba nga talaga iniisip it's an additional expense pa. Na parang hindi mo rin naman nakikita kung ano yung magiging benefit nito later on. Kasi nga naman, para makita mo yung kailangan wala ka na.
Correct.
Correct.
And most of them would definitely say na I don't feel the ROI.
Oo, correct.
Hindi daw nila makikita yung ROI.
Exactly.
Right.
Oo. So that's why for some people sabihin nila it's too complicated. No? Mamaya sinabi mo na we'll talk about the different types, no. Pero when you sit down with an advisor, it's important. Doon mo ma-realize kasi na when an advisor takes you through kung ano yung financial circumstances mo ngayon and ma-identify nila kung ano yung need mo ngayon, they're able to match kung anong insurance program ang ibibigay sa'yo. Then the complications go away because you will know na if this is what I require, this is the product that matches that. Diba? So, minsan kasi, that's why we consider it complicated kasi chances are, merong iba na binibigyan ka na ng insurance program, hindi mo pa alam, what do I need it for? Diba? Parang, minsan pag nauwi tayo sa Pilipinas, at meron tayong nasasalubong na mga financial advisors or nasa bangko ka at sabihin, ma'am, ito insurance, pirma ka dito, here, and here. Hindi mo alam what it is for. Ang alam mo lang may insurance ka. Right? So it's like you took Panadol na wala ka pang headache. No, so alamin mo muna why you need it.
Right.
Diba? Before you check whether or not it's a solution, and then you'll understand what it is for.
Right.
No? The other one would be, I'm too young. No, mga bata pa, I don't really need it.
Wala pang dependent.
Yeah, wala pang dependent. So sometimes kasi life insurance is not really about you being too young, but you know, ang risk that you're trying to mitigate by having one, no, na you're able to afford it, you're a lot more healthy, is the time that you really need to start building.
Right.
And if you're going to use life insurance as a vehicle for retirement, the longer you are invested, you know, the more your money can grow.
Exactly.
No, so that's why starting early is also will also work for you. No, and then ito din sa atin culturally, we don't really want to talk about death.
Oh, yes.
Diba?
Takot.
Parang
In Bisaya, it's tunglo.
Oo, exactly.
Tunglo ka,
Oo.
right?
Ang mga bisdak na naminaw karon. So it's that parang it's not something na
Very
that should be talked
uncomfortable na
but it is something that is a reality for many of us, no?
Inevitable.
And I think COVID really brought that into the picture.
Right.
That's
And
right.
you know, during the time of COVID, sa kumpanya namin, it was the number 2 cause of death sa claims na binayaran namin. COVID talaga. So it brought it closer to home, no? So it's a reality that we have to really face, and particularly for us overseas workers, may risk to our dependents if something happens to us.
But
No, so it's important.
In addition to that, but the pandemic also, kumbaga, nabuksan yung mga isip ng mga tao that we really need,
Absolutely.
you know, insurance
Exactly.
policies.
Exactly. And we have to be cognizant na during that time there were insurance programs that did not really cover pandemic.
Yeah.
No, so may mga kaya importante when you look at an insurance program, tignan niyo din yung anong inclusions ng programa niyo, ng insurance program na yan, kung covered ba yung mga ganyan. And then some people will say, meron naman ako insurance sa trabaho. Like, you know, may mga group insurance or something like that. And that is true. And usually that's multiples of your salary, right? But that will not be enough. What if you move companies or you lose your job? No? So, wala ka na insurance and maybe you're not healthier.
Right.
No, so kaya importante din talaga na when you look at all these things considered.
It's actually a good thing that you mentioned that kasi even kasi ako mayroong work dito, provided din naman ng insurance, and of course health naman talaga dito sa Qatar is relatively provided by the government. Tapos meron ka pa sa company mo,
Correct.
private ano. Pero yung iba, hindi nila naiisip na baka kailangan ko rin kumuha pa ng additional. Kasi what if I lose this particular job?
Correct.
What if I have to move back to the Philippines? Anong dadatnan ko doon?
Correct.
Diba?
Yeah.
So, that's one of the things. Kaya kumuha din ako sa Philippines ng, ng health din eh. Even
Correct.
health insurance. Diba? Kasi
Exactly.
parang sobrang importante. We have to really plan ahead kung ano nga ba yung mga mangyayari sa atin in the future and protect ourselves. Not just ourselves, but the entire family.
Correct.
At sa sinasabi nila na sa mga maiiwan, if in case man may mangyari sa'yo, kasi nga, di ba, may nakakatawa nga, meron tayong, I have a certain friend na sinasabi niya, mawawala na nga ako, di ba, magbibigay pa ako ng problema.
Correct.
Which is true, right?
Oo. Kung mapapansin mo sa mga movies, 'di ba, pag you know, yung mga scenes na if somebody dies, hindi naman sinasabi na I'm gonna miss you eh. Paano na lang kami? Di ba? Yun yung dialogue. Paano naman kami? So it becomes financial na conversation. Paano na kami or something. So so life insurance is not really about dying or somebody's going to die, but somebody's going to continue living.
Yes.
Okay.
Right.
That's a very good...
I love that.
So yun.
Magandang thought na gamitin. Anyway, punta po tayo dun sa sa iba-ibang klase ng mga life insurance policies.
Yeah. So kadalasan sa mga insurance companies pare-pareho halos ng mga approaches to life insurance. Kanina sinabi natin may mga whole of life cover no na hanggang age 95 or age 100. Now these types of cover usually yung mga long term na ganyan na whole of life at times they're also tied to a certain return. So may investments or in the Philippines tinatawag natin yan sa ibang mga programa na cash value, di ba? Yung VUL na naririnig natin sa Pilipinas, yung variable unit link na mga contracts, meron din yan sa abroad, no? O yung iba na universal life ang tawag, yung cash value insurance naman yan. So merong mga values talaga. And these types of insurances din merong pwede mong idagdag na mga benefits na tinatawag natin in the insurance terms na riders, no? So merong mga naidagdag. For example, some insurance companies will have an accidental death rider. So ibig sabihin if the person dies due to an accident, merong additional amount of money na maidadagdag. You should know na I think in the Middle East number 4 cause of death ang accident.
Oh wow.
Oo. Galing magdadrive ng mga tao. Tapos, there are other benefits like hospitalization, for example. So yung hospitalization is not really meant to pay the bills. Kasi may mga health card tayong mga ganyan, no? The hospitalization benefit na nadadagdag sa mga insurance is really meant to replace the income that you lose when you're in the hospital.
Okay.
Diba? Kasi lalo na kung prolonged hospitalization yan, wala ka ng income, ubus na yung sick leave mo, paano yan yung income mo? So may mga riders like that na nagdadagdag ng nagbibigay ng income in case you are in the hospital. Merong yung critical illness insurance or critical illness benefit, one of the more popular na riders kasi lalo na kung titignan mo yung ating lifestyle dito sa Middle East, we're prone to a lot of stuff, no? Based on my company's claims experience, for example, sa critical illness sa mga babae, 84% of our critical illness claims sa mga babae were due to cancer. So and for men it's cardiovascular related. So kung wala kang programa sa insurance that will provide you money in case na magkaroon ka ng critical illness, gaano ka man kagaling mag-save, mauubos yan. So that's why it's important to mitigate those because yun nga sinasabi natin, you'd be surprised that it doesn't really cost that much, no, from an expense perspective. Merong iba na benefits na if you get disabled, magkakaroon ka rin ng income replacement. So that's why yung kanina kung nakita natin ginagamit ng insurance for income replacement, that's precisely that. We are an economic entity sa ating pamilya. So meron tayong economic value kumbaga. So that economic value needs to be protected whether or not we pass away or makasakit or ma-disable. So that's for whole of life. Yung isa naman term, yung sinasabi natin na pag term insurance wala yang investment component, no? So ang objective lang talaga ng term insurance is to provide the most affordable, most cost-effective insurance cover at the least possible cost. No? So ito yung sinasabi ko sa inyo na yung weekend fast food budget mo or yung pupunta ka sa mamahaling kape na hindi na ako mag-advertise. So hindi ko so sa mga yung budget na yan, you can bawasan mo lang konti yung ganun, no? And allocate mo sa insurance. You can maximize your cover there. There are insurance products also. Another type would be yung savings, no? So kumbaga parang forced savings yan na every month naglalaan ka ng pera through insurance para sa pang-retirement mo or let's say for example magse-save ka for education sa anak mo, gusto mong pag-aralin sa mamahaling eskwelahan or paaralin abroad, let's say. You can set up the funds earlier through a regular savings program.
Right.
Pwedeng mga ganon. May iba tayong mga kababayan din na magaling mag-save, naglalagay ng pera sa bangko, but in some instances limited lang din yung growth na makukuha mo sa
Exactly.
pera mo sa bangko, right? So meron ding mga lump sum investing na ginagawa through insurance that will enable you to access international markets. So marami tayong mga unit link programs internationally that will enable you to access yung mga big tech mga companies and funds na ganyan that otherwise tayo as individuals we cannot access by ourselves.
Exactly.
Oo. So
Exactly.
pwedeng ma-access yan through mga life insurance programs.
Okay.
So merong mga ganong klaseng investment programs. Meron ding ibang mga klase na halimbawa, ayaw mo ng life insurance mismo kasi sabi mo nga kanina, halimbawa, wala akong dependents. Meron ding mga programa na pang critical illness lang. So let's say, I have money, I don't have dependents, my properties ako, whatever. Pero critical illness will eat up into these
That's right.
things, no? So you can buy a critical illness only cover para in case you get critical illness, hindi na matatouch yung mga naipon mo, no? So pwedeng mga ganong klase.
Okay.
So there are these types.
Okay. So,
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's actually quite a lot. And that's where I wanted to go and dive in dun sa ating sunod na question. Kasi you've mentioned about term insurance. You've mentioned about universal what do you call this? Whole
of life.
Yeah, whole of life
Yeah.
insurance. And for people who don't have background on insurance types, sometimes nagkakaroon ng
Parang overwhelming, na complicated siya.
And sabi nga ng isang American psychologist, his name is Barry Schwartz, and he has a book entitled Paradox of Choice. Wherein, pag ang dami-dami daw choices natin,
Correct.
napaparalyze tayo into making a decision. And I've seen this to a lot of OFWs na parang since hindi nila masyado naiintindihan, hindi
na
na sila
lang.
kumukuha, hindi na sila,
Yeah,
kumbaga
Correct.
napaparalyze yung decision making into getting that decision na mag-sign up na for
Correct.
insurance policy.
Correct.
So ngayon, the question is, how would an OFW try to assess ano nga ba yung kailangan niyang insurance
Para
na
sa
makuha?
kanya.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this is where a financial advisor is important, no? Na when you sit down with a financial advisor, a proper financial advisor, licensed financial advisor will sit down with you, look at your financial circumstances, and would be able to identify which one is which. Because if I sit down with you, I'll ask you what your priorities are today. Are your priorities about protection? Is your priority retirement or mag-save? Or halimbawa meron ka ng, or your certain age, sabihin mo, okay naman na ang mga anak ko, paano ko sila mabibigyan ng tamang financial legacy, let's say. So, when an advisor sits down with you, understands what your financial circumstances, makakapagbigay sila ng tamang advice sa'yo kung alin dito sa mga programa na yan is fit for your circumstances today. But the important part is also to continue to review your financial plan. Kasi nagbabago yan. Right? So halimbawa ngayon, single ka pa at biglang nag-double na. No? Or nakahanap ka ng ka-love life. Or nagkaroon ng anak or additional anak or na-promote. So nagbabago yung ating financial picture. Magbabago din dapat yung iyong financial plan. Right? So that's why it's important that you keep a good relationship with your financial advisor, because your financial advisor should be able to come back and review with you kung yung kinuha mo ba is still appropriate sa needs mo ngayon. Right? And will be able to then identify, meron ka na nito, for your needs now, this is the one that you need. So parang ganon. And in some instances, one program might be enough to cover yung lahat ng needs mo, right? Or pwede nilang i-amend yung existing program mo to accommodate yung bagong mga needs na na-identify. If the program that you got is flexible that way, there are programs like that. So pwedeng ganon na it can cover those things.
So very important yung role ng financial advisor.
Absolutely.
So ang question ko dyan is, how would you assess a financial advisor?
Very
Kasi
good.
How would I, ano yung mga kailangan tignan ko sa isang financial advisor before ako kumuha ng policy sa kanya.
Correct. Now, in many jurisdictions, including the Philippines, your financial advisor should have the right license. You know? So, like for example, sa atin, may lisensya yan sa Insurance Commission. In other parts of the world, merong mga international qualifications that are required. We're fortunate here in Qatar, for example, that regulations are such that they will require, let's say, a parang European equivalent na qualifications for our advisors,
Right.
no? So importante na tignan nyo yung credentials din ng advisors that you speak with para magkaroon ka ng tamang ng comfort level baga. Because you don't want to be in a situation where somebody is just out there to make a sale and then hindi mo na nakita after. So important, keep a relationship with your financial advisor talaga, because for me, your relationship with your financial advisor started when you signed, not when it did not end there.
Actually,
it started there.
Actually, my financial advisor more than 10 years ago, nung ko lang siya na-meet, hanggang ngayon, close friends
Yan
na
pa
kami.
rin. Oo. Kaya nga
Close friends
so,
na kami.
and they understand your circumstances better than anybody else, right? So they can give you that kind of kumbaga parang independent analysis of your requirements. Kasi minsan, alam mo minsan nga when an advisor sits down with a particular client, tapos they will take you through your parang gagawa ka ng parang income statement, balance sheet ng sarili mo, which we don't really do. As a mga Pilipino, parang it's not an exercise that we go through na lilista ko lahat ng sources of income talaga. So may sources of income ka, ano yung expenses mo, magkano natira, right? And saan pupunta pa, negative pa pala.
May kulang pa.
Diba? So we don't really do that, no? So when you sit down with an advisor, then they will be able to really identify saan yung pain points dito, saan tayo pwedeng gumawa ng adjustment. Ganun din actually, parang financial diagnosis, kumbaga. You also need one. So an advisor with that kind of with the right kind of qualification should be the one you're looking for. We're fortunate dito sa Qatar na mga advisors natin dito are required that level of qualification.
Right.
You know, sa Pilipinas meron ding licensing. So have a look at these, no, sa when you sit down.
And kung halimbawang licensed sa Philippines, they shouldn't be able to conduct business dito sa Qatar, diba?
Merong tayong mga batas in terms of countries of negotiation.
Not only in Qatar, but
not only in Qatar. For exactly. For example, even for let's say meron kayong kamag-anak na sabihin mo sa akin, Greg, mas gusto ko yung programa ng kumpanya nyo. Can my brother who lives in the Philippines get one or something? Hindi po pwede.
Actually,
right?
Oo.
Unfortunately, hindi po pwede. Papuntahin mo dito at kung hindi po pwede, right? So kasi kailangan it should be in the country where it is negotiated. In the same way na it would be illegal, for example, for a company that's not registered in Qatar to be operating here, no? So very specific po yung batas ng Qatar Central Bank about that. So that's why it's important now, you know, when you have a conversation with a financial advisor, if it's a Filipino, it's a Philippine plan, this is best conducted in the Philippines, no? But when you're home and you can have that conversation with a financial advisor, for sure, right? You can. Yun nga lang, sabi mo nga kanina na may mga limitations because you're an overseas worker. There are products here that might suit you better, right?
From companies that are already here.
So yun lang, importante lang din na you look at the right kind of relationships such that hindi natin alam na does that have an impact on the contract you signed?
Right.
We're considering that it wasn't signed in the country where it should be.
Like for example, I just wanted to be specific. Like for example, kung halimbawang Philippine-based ito at nag-sign ako ng policy ko na nasa Qatar ako, kahit nagbabayad ako, it's going to be nullified, right?
If the contract says that it should be negotiated in the Philippines, then it was null from the very beginning, no?
Okay.
So kaya
kahit meron kang contributions, you won't be able to get any claims.
because the contract would have not been perfect at the beginning. So kaya kung may mga ganong klaseng situations na may mga opportunities ka to obtain life insurance from the Philippines, it's best you do that in the Philippines.
Kapag ka nakabakasyon ka.
Oo, nakabakasyon ka or something like that, rather than doing that here when you're not really there.
Or better yet, get something from here.
Or
Dami
get
ng
something from
international.
here. Marami ding mga international covers here. Sabi nga natin, it may be more cost effective for you if you do it here.
Yeah.
Then you can do that here.
Ang medyo nagiging concern lang ng iba siguro, if they are going to sign up for an insurance policy when they're here, baka pag umuwi na ako at
Paano
nag-for
pag
good na ako sa
nag-for good?
Pilipinas, paano na yung mga claims later on?
Alam mo, yung mga insurance companies that are operating abroad, majority of the clients are expats. Right? And so claims can be done from everywhere, no, and it will be paid in the country where you may move. So these are portable insurance products, kumbaga. So nag-immigrate ka na somewhere else or umuwi ka na sa atin, and if there are claims, it can be done online.
Online na lang.
Online,
Papadala mo yung mga documents sa mga insurance companies, it can be done that way na.
Ang galing ng
So
technology.
nag-move na, actually na-accelerate ang technology because of COVID, no? So
ang daming realizations.
and ngayon, for example, you can sign a contract na online, no, sa mga
e-signature.
But
may
they should still be within the same
e-signatures
country.
na, which should be still negotiated in the same country for sure.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's good to know. Ang dami natin pag-uusapan at ang dami nating natututunan. I just don't know, meron ba tayong mga katanungan dyan sa ano? Wala pa, no? Pero mga pabate.
Actually, mga pabate. So, mamaya na. Basahan natin mamaya.
Sige. But I would just like to check, how does, an insurance policy really fit into the overall financial planning for an OFW? Kasi sinasabi talaga natin, di ba, we should have like a strong financial foundation. So how does it really fit in?
Sa akin, kumbaga, sa akin takeaway talaga when you're looking at your financial plan, particularly when you're looking at your overall financial plan, is you should plan for your lalo na sa retirement conversations and your present situation, yung liquidity and predictability is your overall picture. So karamihan sa atin na mga overseas workers, the first thing that people will think pagka nakapag-abroad, build a house.
Yeah.
Diba? Parang ganun kagad yan eh. I wanna build a house. Tapos andito naman sila, wala nakatira sa bahay. So nakatenga lang yung bahay doon na wala namang
Dapat may car.
diba? So parang ganun yung ano natin. And that's well and good, no? Na gumawa tayo ng ganyang klaseng you build your assets because hindi lang naman insurance ang lahat ng solutions for your financial plan. So dapat when you look at your overall financial plan, you should look at kung halimbawa pinag-uusapan natin yung predictability. Your predictability could be a property back home that will give you rental income when you retire. Right. Diba? Kesa bahay na walang nakatira.
That's right.
No? Tapos i-furnish mo, tapos tinakaw lahat ng walang nakatira sa bahay mo, sayang lang din. Right? So, it could be rental property because that could provide you your predictable
machine,
income
right?
later. No? Pero, then again, that could also be part of the risk in case something happens to you. Right? So, if you leave your family with a property na meron pang babayaran kesa sa you leave them something na can continue to be a legacy for them. So this is where life insurance forms part of the entire financial picture na in case something happens to you, protected yung mga financial plans na ginawa mo, may papadala mo pa rin yung anak mo sa mga eskwelahan or abroad kung saan mo sila gustong papuntahin. Makakapagbigay ka ng continuing income for the surviving spouse, let's say, no, na gusto mo pa namang i-continue talaga yung lifestyle nila. This is where life insurance parang it's woven into your whole financial plan.
Exactly.
Na it's not a standalone thing na I need one because somebody's gonna die or something like that, but the whole financial picture of the OFW needs to have life insurance as an important component para masiguro natin na kung ano man yung financial plan mo sa pamilya mo, kapag iwan ka ng business, kapag iwan ka ng property, these are secured by life insurance in case something happens to you, whether that be we pass away younger than usual or we get sick. Meron tayong naibibigay na
or just in typical rainy days. I mean, kasi like, for example, ito siguro doon ako pupunta sa question na to. Kasi may mga iba na talagang nagbabayad na sila ng insurance. Or nag-iisip silang kumuha ng insurance, so magbabayad ako monthly. What if hindi ako makapagbayad? Will it be mataterminate ba yung aking policy? Or is it also possible kaya na kumuha ako ng pera from the contributions that I've already made? Lalo na kung ang policy na kinuha ko ay may investment component.
Correct. Okay, very good. Two questions. So, number one, what if I fail to pay? So, karamihan sa mga insurance companies, meron yan silang tinatawag na grace period. Right? So, if you fail to pay on your due date, meron yang X number of days to make the payment. In some companies, it's 30 days. In some companies, it can be as long as 90 days even. Right? In some companies, meron silang you pay an overdue interest if you missed payments, right? In some companies, wala namang ganon. So, depende sa mga insurance companies, but most insurance companies will have a grace period provision built into the contract. Now, for policies na merong investment component, ang sa iba nito, if you miss the payments, chances are yung investment component ang magbabayad na ng premiums for you. Right? So may mga ganong klaseng programa na because hindi ka na nakabayad but because your product already has mga investment,
kumbaga may nakaiba ka ng pera,
meron ka nang nailagay na pera, so yun ang magbabayad ng future premiums mo. That could happen as well, no? And in some instances also, because there are programs, sabi natin na merong mga investment component, you can also take money from there. So may mga programa na ganon. Example, meron tayong mga kliyente na because their programs were already making money, nakakuha sila ng part of that money to send their kids to abroad o pambayad ng tuition or mga ganon. Pwedeng magawa yun. Again, depende sa programs that are there na available sa ano. So, merong mga ganong
Parang
klase.
mas interested ako sa part na yan.
How old?
Pero ano po
Biglang
ba yung
may
mga... yes po.
Hindi, sabi ko may form nga ibibigay ko kanina.
Akala ko online na.
I want it online.
Hybrid daw, hybrid. You already have a form here and then you can also fill in the online form. Pero ano po ba yung mga common challenges that Filipinos face when it comes to building, a strong financial foundation? And in particular yung life insurance.
Una-una yung kulang ng financial literacy yung ating mga kababayan. Right? So, I think na it's really important for ourselves to i-educate natin yung sarili natin. In some countries, I know in Qatar, there are organizations na nagbibigay ng mga financial literacy programs, which is good. And I think a lot of our kababayans now are a lot more aware about their financial situations. Meron na tayong mga kababayan that are looking at how to make their money work for them, di ba? So, mas nagiging aware na sila. So, yan yung pinakamalaking challenge talaga because for some people who leave the country, minsan hindi ito kasama doon sa kanilang parang expectation na basta abroad ako, may pera na ako. And then, 'di ba, what next? So, yung awareness ang pinaka-importante. Pangalawa, yung mataas yung ating financial obligations. No? Sa ating mga not only here but also ang parang feeling natin obligation sa ating pamilya. No? So, kung titingnan mo magkano ang pinadala ng mga Pilipino all over the world, 173 billion. Pinadala natin sa Pilipinas, sa ating mga pamilya. How much of that should also be paid to you? 'Di ba? Na ikaw yung nagtatrabaho, pinadala mo lahat, hindi mo sinecure yung nagpadala.
Right.
So, importante din yung ganyang klase. Tapos, pangatlo, inadequate yung savings natin. So, when there's an emergency, parang nahihirapan na yung ating mga kababayan kung hindi sila nakapag-set up ng mga emergency funds. Another challenge would be yung job insecurity. Right? Na paano kung mawalan ako ng trabaho. This is also where an emergency fund really makes sense. So that in case you do lose your job, you have enough funds to look for a replacement. No? So yung mga tipong ganyan. And then, meron pa sila nakikita ng mga investment scams.
Ayun.
Right? Na minsan kasi parang pagka mas mabilis to, di ba? So dito na.
Kasi you want shortcuts kasi.
Parang shortcut, diba? You get rich quick or something like that. There's no such thing. So
If it's good to be true.
yeah, it usually is.
Yeah.
So kaya I know na nakapag-experience tayo dito sa Middle East ng ilang waves of these kinds of things. So be aware din of kung magkakaroon ka ng investments, do your due diligence din kasi marami din talagang mga ganong klase
Right.
na mga ano. So and then I would say also na inadequate din yung ating mga insurance cover. So, kung meron, kaya importante talaga mag-review ng ating mga cover ng insurance.
And it's actually good that you have mentioned about the Filipino community here, that there are a lot of volunteers, kumbaga mga organizations that are really there and providing, financial literacy para sa ating mga kababayan. And with that, I would just like to say,
I know, right? Kasi ang dami nila dyan, no?
ang dami nila mga nakikinig, nanonood sa atin, kasama dyan sina Ferlita.
That's one of the organizations that are really quite active, I might say.
She is the president of the
Overseas Filipino Entrepreneurs and Investors Movement. In fact, thank you Ferlita for inviting me 2 weeks ago, I think. So I was also with the organization talking about this similar topic. So maraming organizations like that. So Ferlita, thank you for listening.
I'm very honored to be part of this group as well, and we are conducting seminars even with the migrant workers office and among other communities. So hi and happy listening sa inyo. Kasama din dyan si Gerard na nanonood din sa atin ngayon, and even Aris Riparip, who is a registered financial planner.
Exactly.
And by the way then, si Sir Terence Hill Buenaflor na sinabi niya sa'yo, Uncle Greg.
Biglang dinagdagan ang
Saka-tune in sila lahat.
So thank you for tuning in, and again thank you also for spending time sa pag-spread ng financial awareness sa ating mga kababayan. And in other parts of the Middle East, like I know in the UAE, there are programs also in coordination with our embassy or in coordination with the consulates na nagkakandak din sila ng mga programa like this sa ating mga kababayan. But I feel that we could do more, no? Na we need to spread it sa mga mas marami pa nating kababayan talaga.
Yeah. And we are, just also here, Qabayan Radio is here to also
support this
have
kind of
this channel, to pass this information to as many people as we can dito sa Qatar. Pero syempre, maikli lang nabibigay nating oras on air, di ba? Meron po ba kayong mga talagang gustong ma-share na bago tayo mag-end, yung mga strategies or mga tips para sa mga OFW on how they can actually build a strong financial foundation?
That you can recommend?
Sa akin, una talaga is to understand what your financial goal is.
Okay,
no? So
it's
it's not only na we left the Philippines tapos nagtrabaho ako abroad. Hindi lang yun na month to month nagpadala and then that's it. You have to build a financial goal for yourself in terms of where should you be financially X number of years. No, it's important to pay yourself as well. Na hindi mo ipadala lahat, wag mong uubusin kasi sabi nga nila there are two individuals of you na nagtatrabaho. One is the young you and the old you that you will become. And the young you is selfish and will use up all your money. Before you know it, wala na si old you, nakalimutan na. That's one. Pangalawa, once you understand what your financial goal is, then evaluate what the financial solutions are. Diba? So this is where you will need the assistance of a financial advisor to match kung ano yung goals mo, tapos anong programa ang pwedeng mangyari sa'yo. That could be insurance, that could be something else, right? But it's important to really have that sit down with an advisor and identify kung ano yung options for you, no? And then establish a budget.
Right.
No, na it could include insurance in the whole picture so that you as an economic value is protected. Importante siyang kasama sa budget mo. No, and then start an emergency fund. Kasi again, it's always uncertain lalo na nandito tayo sa abroad, hindi tayo permanente dito. And if you want to stay here and you want to have enough funds to look for another job in case of emergencies or job loss, meron kang funds to really tide you over if you may, no? And then secure life insurance early. No? So the younger you start, the better it is. Sabi natin kanina, it will be more cost effective for you. Sa akin, I'm fortunate to have started those with my children. And for you who are listening now na kung wala ka pa ngayon, it's important to start now. You're never too old. If you have any existing conditions, don't let that stop you from talking to an advisor and checking whether or not pwede kang magkaroon. No? And then choose the right type of life insurance. So don't really go directly into this is an insurance program. Minsan meron akong mga nakakausap ng mga overseas workers, mga kasama natin na sabihin nila na I have insurance. Ano yun? I don't know, basta meron akong insurance.
Mostly talaga.
Di ba? Parang
Actually, may mga kaibigan akong ganyan. Pagkatapos nilang kumuha, pinapabasa sa akin, check ko daw, sabi ko, nakuha mo na, ano pang magagawa natin?
correct.
Totoo yan.
Yeah, and you know, that's why is it appropriate to really what you need? And if you can add riders, add riders, no?
Yeah.
Critical illness, could be for disability, yung mga tipong ganyan, consider doing that. And then review. So do not just let it sit and say meron na ako, okay na ako.
Yeah.
So, you know, it may need to be updated in the future, and then invest wisely. So don't look at kung anong ito mabilis or ganito yung return. So please do your due diligence first before you go into any investment, and don't forget to plan for retirement kasi uuwi ka din talaga.
Yes. Totoo yan.
Kaya isama mo din yan sa plano mo. Kaya ang iniiwan ko lang sa retirement, liquidity at saka predictability. Yun.
And it's always good to always look at yung long term
Yeah.
Exactly.
Lalo na pagdating sa investments. Kasi minsan ang iniisip talaga natin, kapag nag-invest ako dito, after ilang
Mga
months kaya or
ilang
after
years.
1 year,
Yeah.
magkano kaya ang babalik sa akin? Na parang very short.
Exactly. And we have to realize that the market does like this,
Yes,
right? So if you
yes.
check your investments every day, magkakaroon ka ng heart attack, hindi pa kumita yung ano mo. So be cognizant of the fact that the market's always like that. But you know, when the market is down, it's the right time to buy.
Actually, yung
Right?
iba iniisip, tatakot, parang nawalan ako ng pera, nalugi ako.
Nang
But
mag-risk.
actually, it's a very good time for you
because
to
you
add
buy more
investments.
units. Correct. So kaya even if the market is like that, it also balances out. No? So kaya look at it from the medium to the long-term perspective.
Yeah.
Wag yung what is now. Kaya tayo nagkakaroon ng mga instances na nagkakaroon ng scam because people want now, no? Or
Instant.
mabilis or instant
Yeah.
na ano. Kaya, you know, invest wisely kasi pinaghihirapan din natin yung perang yan. Hindi natin
Correct.
napupulot kahit saan-saan. So bantayan din natin.
Yes. Do we have any questions sa ating video? Or actually,
Well,
dito
it's more of a pa-shout out
Pabate.
naman.
Okay.
Because as for me naman, talagang kahit hindi na i-question si Sir Greg, nasasabi niya lahat na kailangan malaman ng ating mga kababayan.
Actually, dito sa loob ng studio, kanina may
Mismo
question
dito sa loob.
Nasagot
Coming
na
from
ba yun?
Cody.
Nasagot na ba yung tanong?
Cody, this is your time.
Nasagot na
Okay,
pala.
alright.
So anyway, maraming salamat po
Thank you for having me again.
Thank you so much, Sir Greg.
Is there
Andy.
anyone that you would like to greet?
No, I'd like to, of course, I came to the studio with my wife, so I'd like to give a shout out to my wife, Sila, my children who are all in Europe right now. Again, I've started their programs for them. Time for you guys to pick it up. But shout out to my kids who are now having lives of their own. So kay Gio, si Gray, and Jean, and of course my youngest daughter, Karamia, who's going to be joining them soon. So, but thank you for having me. It's always great
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
to have me here.
Yeah, maraming salamat din po.
Thank you.
There you go.
Once again, maraming salamat din sa lahat ng mga nakinig sa atin at nanood sa atin via our live streaming. And I hope na marami kayong natutunan katulad namin ni
That's for
Andy dito sa
sure.
studio about, you know, building a strong financial foundation at kung gaano nga ba talaga ka-importante ang pagkuha ng life insurance.
That's right. At sa lahat ng mga OFWs natin, sana ay nalaman nyo kung ano nga ba talagang dapat natin gawin bilang isang talagang andito para sa ating goals in life. So huwag kalimutan na meron din sana para sa sarili.
Yeah, and I do encourage you to attend financial literacy programs.
We've got free seminars for that.
Exactly.
And as well as look for a qualified financial advisor who will
Correct.
guide you on your finances.
I think call to action sa ating mga overseas workers, kung kailangan nyo ng, you need to sit down, not really kailangan, you need to sit down with a financial advisor para ma-evaluate nyo kung ano yung financial situation nyo ngayon and look at how life insurance can form part of your overall financial program.
Yeah,
That's
very well
right.
said. Once again, thank you so much,
Thank you for
Mr.
having me.
Sir
Greg
Greg.
Loayon. And ako naman po, my name is Kenzo. Thanking you for joining us here tonight.
And of course, RJ Andy mga kabayan para sa ating Usapang Qabayan episode tonight.
And of course, this is Qabayan Radio 94.3. Stay safe, keep smiling, and be blessed.
Usapang Qabayan! Usapang Qabayan! Bibigyang linaw ang mga usaping nagbibigay ng interes sa mga kababayan. Sasagutin ang mga katanungan tungkol sa mga isyong may kinalaman sa mga overseas Filipinos. Magbibigay ng mga impormasyon at kaalaman para sa mga mamamayan. Ito ang Usapang Qabayan! Usapang Qabayan! Sabayang mapapakinggan sa radyo at mapapanood live online. Dito lang sa Qabayan Radio 94.3 FM.
Our current time is 8:48.
Time check is brought to you by Daiso Japan. Most products from 7 Qatari Riyals. Now open at City Center, Doha, first floor.
Order nga po ng Pizza Hut My Box please. Pepperoni with a drink, wedges, and chicken wings. Pepperoni with pasta and wedges. Samahan nyo na rin ang pasta at saka melts with 2 sides.